Part 57. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 561. Chapter 561. Kneel down and beg for mercy. Seeing Ye Wei's face, Nurse Zhang felt panicked. Jiao, Miss Jiao, why did you come to see me? Nurse Zhang, don't be afraid. When Grandma was in the hospital, you took care of me. Grandma once specifically mentioned you to me. But at that time, I was busy with my studies and did not look for you in time. When Grandma passed away, I was still thinking about you, so I think it is necessary. Find Nurse Zhang. When Ye Wei spoke to her, his tone was soft, with a slight smile on his lips. Nurse Zhang was confused after hearing Ye Wei's words, which she didn't know were true or false. He raised his head and glanced at Ye Wei in fear, and saw that she was applying for kindness, but he still didn't get any peace in his heart. Because she had done something bad by accepting bribes, she did not dare to face Mrs. Jiao's granddaughter openly. The only time Ye has to disguise herself is that her excess emotions won't show even a bit. Ye Wei said that her granddaughter passed away at that time, and she, as a granddaughter, did not accompany the old man in time, so she had to recall what the old man said and what he wanted to do before his death, and then tried her best to complete it, as a way to make up for the regrets of the old man's life. The performance that was both real and fake made Nurse Zhang confused. Miss Jiao, did Mrs. Jiao really say that? Yeah, even though Grandma couldn't speak at that time, her meaning was very clear. We will definitely not understand her wrongly. She was kind-hearted when she was alive. If others treat her well, she will definitely remember it and return it twice as much. This word has many meanings. But Ye Wei's words were touching, and Nurse Zhang gradually let down her guard. Nurse Zhang did not dare to say anything, so she could only follow Ye Wei's words. Those are all my duties as a nurse, and I really can't bear the old lady's concern. Nurse Zhang, don't be too humble in your opinion. Taking care of the patients is your duty after receiving a salary, but for us family members, it is the top priority. It's a pity that Grandma, sigh. Ye Wei hesitated to speak, and could only sigh deeply at the end. Nurse Zhang quickly answered, I'm really grateful to Miss Jiao and the old lady. You think so highly of me. I, a nurse who resigned halfway, am really ashamed. Yes, Nurse Zhang, you don't know that Grandma has been ill since you resigned. I was thinking about how those people treated Grandma. If I find out that the doctors did not do their best or used the wrong medicine, if my grandma's condition gets worse, I will definitely find those people and punish them. At the end of the sentence, Ye Wei's expression suddenly turned serious, and even the tone of his voice was deliberately accentuated. Ah! Those words hit Nurse Zhang's heart like a heavy weight, making her feel guilty. Yes, only anger seemed to be out of control. Those quack doctors can't cure my grandma, so I'm going to report them all and make it difficult for them to survive in the hospital. Oh my God, Nurse Zhang covered her mouth in disbelief. I didn't expect that the gentle-looking little girl could be so cruel. However, some people are smart and come to me to admit their mistakes. I want to let him go because he has tried his best, and I also recommend him to the dean for promotion. I think it's forgivable to correct a mistake after you realize it. What do you think, Nurse Zhang? Miss Jiao is right. Think about it again. How would you like me to thank you? When Nurse Zhang heard this, she knelt down directly. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 562. Chapter 562. She has a heart disease. Miss Jiao, please spare me. Someone paid me to do it. Who is it? Yes. Nurse Zhang was so scared that her heart suddenly accelerated and she fainted directly in front of Ye Wei. Although Ye Wei said he wanted to repay her just now, the change in tone and those deliberate words later made it impossible for even a fool to hear it. What's more, Nurse Zhang had something wrong in her heart, and she couldn't hide it, so she knelt down. What a pity, fainted. Get a doctor to see you. She didn't know the specific situation yet, so she didn't want to send the person to the hospital rashly, so she contacted the doctor to come to her home. The provisional diagnosis results are not very convincing, but the doctor mentioned, this lady seems to have a heart problem. Heart problems. Yeah, I thought about it for a moment and saw the handbag on the table. That black handbag is obviously a women's item and cannot belong to Pei Yuchen. Ye Wei asked him a few questions to confirm that it belonged to Nurse Zhang. Ye Wei picked up the black handbag. Although it's not good to go through people's things, she might be able to confirm some things inside the bag. Opening Nurse Zhang's bag, she pulled it open to both sides and found a white medicine bottle in the handbag. The text printed on it was related to heart disease. The doctor's diagnosis is correct. At this time, Nurse Zhang had to be sent to the hospital. Nurse Zhang was pushed in for examination. Ye Wei and Pei Yuchen were waiting outside, both of them looking solemn. Miss, it seems that it was Nurse Zhang who was undoubtedly responsible, but unfortunately, she fainted at the most critical moment. I was too anxious, and I didn't expect that she had heart disease. People with heart disease need to stabilize their mood, and it is best to control their mentality and emotions, otherwise they are prone to disease. Hearing that Ye Wei blamed herself, Pei Yuchen hurriedly tried to persuade her. Miss, you don't have to blame yourself for not finding out everything about her in advance. Forget it, this kind of thing is unexpected. We have the same purpose, so let's stop trying to take the responsibility on ourselves. Yes, everything is up to the lady's arrangement. While waiting, Ye Wei received a greeting from Yezikin. But an unexpected illness prevents her from finding the truth. Nurse Zhang has admitted that she was the one who did it, but just when she was about to reveal who was behind it, she fainted due to a heart attack and is still in the hospital for examination and has not woken up. I'm coming to find you. No, Assistant Pei is with me, so don't worry about my affairs. Pei Yuchen, huh? He was alone with Pei Yuchen, and he couldn't let it go. That Pei Yuchen is quite old and still doesn't have a girlfriend. He follows his baby every day, which makes people have to be on guard. Especially, that Pei Yuchen is the blocker. After the call with Yezikin ended, Ye Wei's mood improved significantly. Although she is still worried about Nurse Zhang, her demeanor has become more relaxed. Pei Yuchen took in all of Ye Wei's performance and sighed helplessly. Originally I followed Mrs. Jiao, but now I am following this young ancestor. He wants to repay the favor, so he has no complaints at all. Especially after getting to know Ye Wei in depth, I felt even more heartbroken for what this little girl had suffered in her childhood. At this time, Nurse Zhang had been pushed into the general ward after being examined. The patient has woken up and family members can go in and visit. Thanks to Xiaozinkin, I am hard to coax, Yi Ji Zioxi for the reward. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 563. Chapter 563 The Murderer is. Nurse Zhang, how are you feeling now? Thank you, Miss Jiao, for your concern. I said, just admit your mistakes and correct them. She still smiled and spoke, but no one could see the coldness hidden in her eyes. It was good to know the mistakes and correct them, but she was not so kind-hearted as to let Nurse Zhang go. No matter what reason Nurse Zhang had, it could never change the fact that she drugged Mrs. Jiao. If it weren't for those cold food powder, Grandma wouldn't have died. When she thinks of this, she will feel endless hatred in her heart, and she will never give up until she finds the murderer. Nurse Zhang, I see that you are in a stable mood now. You should be able to tell us the truth about the mastermind behind this. Who is the initiator? Yes. Nurse Zhang's eyes wandered around, and finally landed on Pei Yuchen. The only gaze that had been following her all night fell on Pei Yuchen's face. Pei Yuchen felt uncomfortable being stared at by the two people, and quickly reached out to cover his face. It has nothing to do with me. Pei Yuchen was the first to declare. Ye Wei shook his head and did not doubt him. Nurse Zhang, you might as well just say it. Actually, the person who asked me to give MRSGO medicine contacted me on the phone. I have never seen that person, let alone her identity. You don't even know who the other person is. Why did you agree to do such a thing for him? Ye Wei couldn't control his emotions. Pei Yuchen reminded her calmly from behind, Miss, please be patient. Ye Wei took a deep breath and said, Nurse Zhang, I have always felt guilty about what happened to Grandma. If you are determined to repent, I hope you can try your best to help us. Nurse Zhang said, the person who contacted me was a woman. She must have changed her voice deliberately. I couldn't tell her age. Pei Yuchen questioned this. Since you said that person used a voice changer, why not just change his personality? This analysis is reasonable and this factor cannot be ruled out. Ye Wei nodded and asked her to continue telling what she knew. Nurse Zhang gradually revealed some information. Although it was incomplete, it was still a clue. After saying that, Nurse Zhang began to cry and admit her mistake again. MSGO, I was obsessed with that matter. Please don't blame me. Ye Wei didn't make any promise to her. Why take that money? Nurse Zhang cried, at that time, I was diagnosed with a heart problem, but I didn't have money to treat the disease and maintain my health. Until that person showed up, she generously provided me with funds. I was afraid of death, so I accepted that people's help. Accepting that person's help is equivalent to agreeing to that person's conditions, and that's why he mixed hanshi powder into MRSGO's medicine. I was really careful to only use a little bit each time, and I didn't follow the person's instructions to continue taking the medicine. I only used it 5 times. I just wanted to get money for treatment. Later, when things were exposed, the person asked me to resign immediately. When I left the hospital, I left as soon as I was scared. Then why did you come back? This has always been my route. I thought no one would hold me accountable after being gone for so long. It's a pity that Nurse Zhang was unlucky and underestimated their determination to find out the truth. Ye Wei and Pei Yuchen left the ward after the interrogation. Who does the lady think Nurse Zhang is talking about? If you ask me to tell you, the first thing I think of is Li Mo'er. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 564. Chapter 564. Try to find her. Go and check Li Mo'er's recent movements. Miss Mo'er once visited my wife despite the wind and rain, and everyone could see her feelings. When things go to extremes, they must be reversed. Assistant Pei, didn't you say that everything is up to me? Pei Yuchen hesitated for a moment, then nodded in agreement, yes. Thinking that Pei Yuchen and others had been bribed by Li Mo'er, Ye Wei could only guess. Li Mo'er is the kind of person who leaves his biological parents because of the prosperity and reputation of the Ye family, even though his parents are still alive. When she heard something was going on with the Li family, she only cared about her identity as the daughter of the Ye family and did not get involved. A person who doesn't even care about her own blood relatives would really be so attentive to an old man who has taken care of her for a year or two. What are you thinking about, so lost in thought? Brother, you're still here. I told you that I would come to see you. Yezikin subconsciously held her shoulders and asked meaningfully, has there been any progress with Grandma's affairs? Ye Wei nodded and shook his head. Nurse Zhang said someone was instigating the incident, but she was contacted through a mobile phone and a voice changer, so she didn't know who was behind it. So now, the clue is broken. Not necessarily. Grandma has always been friendly to others and never deliberately made grudges with others. The person who attacked her must be someone familiar with her and should be very familiar with Grandma's physical condition. Because he understands the physical condition, he will do things at specific times. Ye thought seriously and tried hard to find some useful news. Yezikin sighed silently when he saw her serious look and her firm determination to find out the truth. He didn't know whether it was right or wrong to let Yewei pursue the investigation. But maybe he really did something wrong. But there is no turning back for him. Okay, don't think about it, this kind of thing can't be rushed. No, I still have to talk to the nurse since there have been transactions and connections, even if they are destroyed, we can always find some. They checked the records through Nurse Zhang's account and mobile phone. Those records had been cancelled and the address could not be found. After tracing the identity, they found that they were forged. The person behind this has this ability, which shows that there is no shortage of money. Why would you harm an old man if you don't lack money? Many questions circled Yewei's mind over and over again. It should be very simple, but unexpectedly, the key point went wrong in that link. It was as if there was a thread connecting all the things she wanted, but she couldn't find the end of the thread, so the following things were connected one after another. Miss, I found out that Miss Moa recently went abroad with the Lee family. What, go abroad? Don't go early or leave, just leave at this time. Pei Yuchen continued to report, according to verification, the Lee family moved abroad to settle down. What about Lee Moa, has she returned to the Lee family? This news is not yet certain. I don't know whether she is visiting for a short time or going to settle abroad. Yewei clasped his hands tightly, thought about it again, and suddenly said, I want to go back to the place where Grandma lived before. Pei Yuchen was a little embarrassed, but miss, that place has not been inhabited for a long time and has been covered in dust. It's okay. Since you can't figure out the clues, let's check it again from the beginning. The Skynet is sparse and not leaking. In the afternoon of that day, Pei Yuchen took Yewei back to the place where Mrs. Jiao once lived. That is, the place where the incident occurred. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 565. Chapter 565, Finding the Loopholes at the Crime Location. The house was covered in dust and covered with wide white cloths. There was a stuffy smell when you opened the door and walked in. After Madame's accident, I left no trace here in order to find out the cause, but no special problems were found last time. There are still traces of blood on the ground, which have long since dried and seeped into the floor. There were blood stains under the stairs, and there were traces of footsteps on the stairs. Only the area near the stairs remains intact. Step by step up the edge of the stairs, rubbing the soles of his shoes on the stairwell. Just to prevent the elderly from falling, a layer of carpet was laid on the stairs. This carpet still has footprints. The carpet is stepped on every day, and it's not surprising to leave footprints. Yewei carefully knelt down and pulled the carpet, but if you look at the rest of the carpet, except for the dust, it's just like new. This made it difficult for Pei Yuchen to explain. I checked before and there was no problem, but now it is more difficult to check as time goes by. How can there be such a coincidence? The two of them were struggling with these traces. Yewei squatted in the stairwell and glanced out casually, and suddenly noticed something floating at the door. Who is it? She stood up suddenly and ran down the stairs to chase him out. Pei Yuchen saw this and chased after him. As expected, there was a person in front of him who was running away and looking back. Pei Yuchen was a big man, and Yewei had a practiced speed. He quickly grabbed the man's arm and pressed him to the ground. Who are you? Yes, only question was, but Pei Yuchen recognized the person's identity at a glance. Wait a minute, this is the housekeeper who took care of my wife before. Butler. Hearing the butler's screams, Ye Wei relaxed his grip, but still imprisoned the butler so that he had nowhere to escape. Butler, why are you here? Yes, it's because my wife was very good to us and my wife when she was alive, so I came here to remember my wife. Are you kidding? Today is neither a festival nor a memorial day. You came here alone at this time and just missed it temporarily. Don't treat people like fools. Butler, your sneaking around outside the door has aroused suspicion. You'd better tell the truth now. Why are you here? The housekeeper trembled, but still insisted on what he said. I am telling the truth, Mr. Pei, Miss Jiao, I really just came to see Madam. If nothing happens, I will leave first. You lied, Butler, you must be hiding something from us. Butler, you are evasive in your words. Could it be that you had something to do with my grandma falling down the stairs? Now that my grandma has passed away, you are the murderer. Yayoi deliberately exaggerated, but the housekeeper exposed his flaw because of panic and fear. Mr. Pei, Miss Jiao, you really don't care about my affairs. They didn't let me tell you I was coerced. Coerced? Who coerced you? What do you know? Sure enough, there is an unknown secret in it. The night is getting closer and closer. Butler, tell me everything you know. The housekeeper was still very frightened. He glanced at Yayuyi on the left and Pei Yuchen on the right. Butler, if you hide it, we can only arrest you and take you to the police station to have a discussion. No, 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 don't let me go to the police station, I said you must not blame me. The housekeeper finally relented. Ye Wei and Pei Yuchen looked solemn. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 566. Chapter 566. It was Li Moer who pushed the person downstairs. One day after my wife was hospitalized, I saw Miss Moer coming here, sitting on the stairs crying, and kept saying things like sorry. I learned the truth about my wife's fall downstairs from Miss Moer's words, but I was threatened not to tell anyone about it. Li Moer. This name surprised Yayi and shocked Pei Yuchen even more. Butler, have you made a mistake? Miss Moer took care of my wife so wholeheartedly during her illness, and you actually slandered Miss Moer, Pei Yuchen asked the housekeeper dissatisfied, obviously not believing the last sentence. Yai raised his hand horizontally to stop Pei Yuchen. She acted calmly, allowing the housekeeper to tell the truth she knew boldly. The housekeeper gave a stern assurance, I did not slander Miss Moer. It was really her and Madame who had a dispute in the stairwell that day, which caused Madame to fall down the stairs. Pei Yuchen was confused. Since you know this, why didn't you stand up and tell the truth when we were investigating? I have no power in my family and I can't afford to offend her. I thought my wife was just injured and in the hospital and her life was not in danger, so I never dared to mention it to anyone. Knowing that my wife died in the hospital some time ago, I felt very uneasy, so I wanted to come and pay homage to the place where my wife died. Worship. You did something wrong by concealing the truth. Aren't you afraid when you go to that place? I'm scared, but I have no choice but to kneel down and kowtow. Generally speaking, paper money is burned when worshipping the dead, but this place has been dusty for a long time, and he did not dare to burn anything and leave traces to arouse suspicion. But he didn't want to be unlucky. As soon as he arrived, he found the door opened and Pei Yuchen and Ye Wei standing in the stairwell. The housekeeper deliberately hid at the door, but he didn't want his loose coat to cross the boundary and be discovered by Ye Wei, and he pushed him to the ground so that he couldn't escape. He was questioned, but his conscience was still intact, so he revealed the truth here. After finishing speaking, the housekeeper emphatically stated, Miss Jiao, Mr. Pei, I really didn't hide it on purpose. Ye Wei felt a surge of anger in his heart. You didn't hide it deliberately, you just chose to protect yourself wisely and harmed my grandma. The words stopped abruptly in the middle of the sentence. Ye Wei took a deep breath and told himself to calm down. The housekeeper took the opportunity to break free. Miss, I know I was wrong, but I was forced to do nothing. Now I have confessed everything I know. Miss, you should let me go, right? Pei Yuchen looked at Ye Wei, waiting for her instructions. Ye Wei sighed, you go. Thank you, miss, for your understanding, and thank you, Mr. Pei. Getting free, the housekeeper immediately ran away without a trace. Pei Yuchen was a little puzzled. The housekeeper didn't report the knowledge. Miss, are you really going to let him go like this? It was a mistake for him not to report the information, but mistakes are also serious. Now send people to keep an eye on him to ensure that we can find them at any time. I didn't expect that it was Mo or Xiao. No, it was really Li Mo who did something wrong. Does that mean that she was so dedicated to taking care of Madame because she felt guilty in her heart? Assistant Pei, your idea is too naive. Miss, what do you mean? Li Mo made a mistake but kept it secret. She was also afraid that her scandal would be exposed in this case. How could she sincerely hope that Grandma would live? Now I'm going to catch that Li Mo. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 567. Chapter 567, The elder sister should let the younger sister. Li Mo has returned to China. She lived abroad with the Li family for a few days before she realized that she no longer belonged to the Li family, and her 10-year-old sister dared to bully her. You are the elder sister and you should give way to your younger sister. Who asked you to come back and steal my parents' attention from me? When I live in Li's house these days, I can basically hear the above two sentences. First, her elders were polite to her, but that kind of politeness did not feel like a relative, but like a guest from afar. The room prepared by her parents for her was deliberately occupied by her younger sister, but the elders would tell her, you are the older sister and you should let her go. My younger sister likes that room, so why don't you change it to another one? But where her family can't see or hear her, her sister will always tell her arrogantly, I just deliberately snatched your things, who asked you to come back suddenly? My parents are mine, and I don't want you as a sister. Originally there were many sisters in the Li family, but now most of them have grown up and settled down in their own homes, and they are separated. Some of them have not been seen for several years. So everyone loves the youngest daughter in the family very much. Sometimes she is really annoyed by her sister and can't help but yell. Then her sister will cry and run to the elders to complain and say bad things about her. She has been taking care of the Ye family for many years, and the elders of the Li family all favor their younger sister. She had suffered enough grievances and felt uncomfortable being excluded from her family. So she went against Yezikin's words and returned home quietly. Since the Li family is unreliable, we have to hold onto Yezikin's handle tightly. Now Mrs. Ye doesn't like her as much as before, and she still has to make plans for her future. Li Mo has not told anyone about her return to China for the time being. She found a hotel to stay temporarily outside and hesitated whether to contact Yezikin. But Li Mo also had concerns. If I tell Brother Chen now, he will definitely be very dissatisfied with my unauthorized actions. After some hesitation, Li Mo contacted his best friend in high school. Now that the winter vacation is over, the two friends met to go shopping and have fun. 3 days later, Li Mo met Pei Yuchen outside his hotel room. Ah! Li Mo was immediately startled, patted her chest and gasped, Assistant Pei, why are you here? Li Mo, Our Lady would like to invite you to talk about old times. Reminiscing about old times, Li Mo's attitude immediately changed when he heard that Yayoi was looking for something to do. I have nothing to say to her, I don't want to see her. Knowing that Ye Wei was still insisting on Mrs. Jiao falling down the stairs recently, Li Mo'er felt very uncomfortable and was very repelled by her. But since Pei Yuchen came here in person to invite people, she has to go regardless of whether she is willing or not. Our lady wants to talk to you about Nurse Zhang. Nurse Zhang, what the hell, Nurse Zhang, I don't understand what you are talking about. Li Mo'er, if you want to make a scene in the corridor, I'm afraid it won't be good for you if the matter is leaked. At this moment, the room next door suddenly opened. Pei Yuchen signaled to Li Mo'er, who snorted coldly and walked in. As soon as Li Mo'er entered the door, he saw Ye Wei's tall figure standing in the center. Although Li Mo'er didn't want to admit it, he always felt that his guilty conscience was suppressed by Ye Wei. What on earth do you want to say? Tell me about how you asked Nurse Zhang to drug you and how you asked the housekeeper to hide the truth. Although it is very satisfying to have Li Mo'er's evil deeds exposed, it is also equivalent to Ye Zikin's incident. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 568. Chapter 568. The man you love is lying to you. Ye Wei, you are crazy. What does it matter to me if grandma is dead? Li Mo'er was about to explode. Ye Wei wrung his hands and could hear the bones cracking. Stay strong, both Nurse Zhang and the housekeeper have confessed to us that you caused grandma to fall down the stairs, threatened the housekeeper to conceal the truth, and bribed Nurse Zhang to drug grandma while she was lying in the hospital bed. Li Mo'er's ability to lie is much better than others. Even if it was pointed out, before there was any evidence, she denied it without blushing. I didn't. I don't know what nonsense you are talking about. It was her skillful lying and acting skills that fooled everyone for a long time. Although Li Mo'er was scared, she kept calming her inner emotions. She warned herself to stay calm and not to be tricked by Ye Wei. I don't want to stay here with you and talk about weird things, I'm leaving. Li Mo'er turned around and wanted to run away, but found that Pei Yuchen was behind the door, completely blocking the entrance and exit. Li Mo'er couldn't get out, so Ye Wei continued to press. Then do you dare to confront them? Li Mo'er said stiffly, of course. I, Li Mo'er, have a clear conscience. Just find those people you mentioned. Come here. I think you have misunderstood. Ye Wei curled his lips slightly and sneered, of course you have to go to the police station for such a serious matter. It would be better to go to court and explain it clearly. Police stations and courts. Such sharp words made Li Mo'er have to pay attention. She objected, I won't go to any police station. Don't slander anyone. Ye Wei pressed him hard, since you haven't done anything wrong, why don't you dare to go? Li Mo'er's mind was spinning very quickly and he rambled on, I'm nominally Miss Yejia. How could I go to a place like that? If word spread, it would have a great impact on my reputation. I won't fall in love with someone like you, it's the villain's fault. Pei Yuchen felt particularly annoyed when she showed herself to be protecting her own interests. Pei Yuchen blamed himself when he thought that he had allowed Li Mo'er to stay with Mrs. Jiao for so long. Li Mo'er, we have obtained the witness and physical evidence. If you repent and apologize now, maybe I can be merciful when the time comes. Bah, I don't need you to look at me with that charity look on your face. I'm not wrong about anything and I won't admit it. Li Mo'er insisted that those things had nothing to do with him. Ye Yi was not in a hurry at all. She suddenly took out a pen and pressed the button on the top, and the pen started to make a sound. There is something that Nurse Zhang and the housekeeper said. There are also voices from some people who were carefully interrogated in the hospital. Actually, when I was taking care of the old lady, I found bruises on her body, as if she had been pinched. I didn't take it seriously when I saw it for the first time, and I was a little suspicious the second time, but then one time the old lady made an unclear sound, and I was sure that those marks were done intentionally. After listening to a recording, Li Mo'er knew that Ye Wei had indeed obtained the evidence. At this moment, Lemur was not angry but smiled. Okay, I admit it. You are finally willing to admit it? Lemur, I won't let you go this time. Are you going to sue me? I can tell you that the things I did before went so smoothly thanks to someone's help. Who? Yeah, why, do you know that the man you love the most has actually been cheating on you? His governments are addicted to being addicted to the love of bamboo horses. You are my future wife, so I should kiss you. When she was 4 years old, he bit her on the mouth and kissed her for life. Shijan, who is cynical, is good at fighting and resisting. What he is best at is crawling through Yanwixi's window. Daughter-in-law, I am afraid that you will be lonely alone, so I will warm your bed. In Shijan's eyes, Yanwixi is just a soft rabbit, someone who makes him want to pet him just by looking at him. In Yanwixi's eyes, Shijan is just a wolf, a ruffian and a pervert. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 569. Chapter 569 Give her medicine. It's Yezikin. He personally helped me hide the truth about your grandma falling down the stairs. He already knew the whereabouts of Nurse Zhang and didn't tell you. If we are investigated, he will also be an accomplice in your grandma's death. Snapped. Ye Wei suddenly threw the water glass and hit it at Lemur's feet. The thing instantly broke into pieces. Lemur's heartbeat quickened and she took a few steps back, with a clear look of anger on her face. Ye Wei snorted coldly, obviously disdainful of her sophistry and false accusations. Who are you lying to? Do you think I will believe what you say? Don't believe it? Ha, Lemur mocked. Very sure. If you don't believe it, you can ask Yezikin yourself if he did these things for me. I don't know how to repent, Lemur. Don't you feel that you have done something wrong until now? You are going to take the opportunity to falsely accuse others when you are about to die. Ye Wei moved and stood half a meter away in front of Lemur. Her height and aura are enough to overwhelm Lemur. Ye Wei's face was filled with gloom. Grandma was so kind to you, but you pushed her downstairs. Do you still have any conscience? Nonsense, I didn't push her on purpose. She wanted to argue with me, so she lost her footing and fell down the stairwell. Lemur's voice was trembling. Yahweh pressed forward step by step. If falling downstairs was an accident, what happened after that? Did the cold food powder come after Grandma asked Nurse Zhang to give it to her? It was clearly you who deliberately murdered her. Lemur stepped back step by step, not daring to get close to Yewei. After all, she is a girl of 18 or 19 years old. Even if she has a strong heart, she will still be scared when she is called out for her crimes. But being afraid does not mean that Lemur will reflect on his mistakes and admit his mistakes. Lemur firmly believed in her thoughts and defended herself without any guilt. Who made her restless? Just lie down, and why should she wake up? If she wakes up, then it will be my business, it will be exposed, so of course I have to strike first. Snapped. Yewei suddenly raised his hand and slapped Lemur on the face. Lemur didn't react in time. When she wanted to resist, she was slapped on the other cheek. Those two loud slaps were particularly shocking in the clean room. Even Pei Yuchen was shocked. It wasn't because he was afraid, but because he never knew that the seemingly weak Yewei could be so powerful that he could explode. As expected, people cannot be judged by appearance, and sea water cannot be measured. You dare to hit me, Yewei? Lemur rushed towards Yewei like crazy, but before she could even take a step, she was firmly caught by Pei Yuchen, who was guarding behind. Miss, now that we have no certificate, how should we deal with this woman with a vicious heart? Leave it to the police, of course. You dare? I don't dare to do anything. It's just a pity that you have to spend your best years in prison. The evil done by God can be forgiven, but the evil done by oneself cannot be lived. You just want to take the opportunity to take revenge, and I won't let you succeed. Wei blinked and smiled. Don't worry, I won't send you in right away. Humph, if you're wise, of course I will never set foot in that kind of place in the future. Lemur, I advise you not to think too wonderfully about reality. You know hanshi powder very well, right? Why don't I give you a taste of it too? Wei opened a closed cup on the table, mixed it with water, and handed it to Lemur. The original setting of the little bell is, if people don't bully me, they may treat me kindly, if someone offends me, they will definitely return it. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 570. Chapter 570 The Revenge of the Blackened Fairy. You, don't come over. Don't be afraid. Drinking this stuff will only give you fever and hallucinations. Don't worry, I won't let you die. I can't bear the crime of murder. Bah, I won't drink it. Lemur threw her head to the side, but her body was held hostage by Pei Yuchen, and she could not move or resist. Can only let Wei bring the glass of water close to her mouth. Lemur kept struggling, looking embarrassed and helpless. Just when Wei pinched the corner of Lemur's mouth to forcefully pour the medicine, Pei Yuchen suddenly said, "Miss, do you really want to do this?" To be honest, during the 3 years when Lemur was mistaken for the granddaughter of the Chiao family, Lemur always acted like a well-behaved, cute, and considerate little girl in front of others. Especially when Mrs. Chiao was hospitalized, Pei Yuchen always thought that this girl was cute and caring. Kind. Who would have thought that she is actually a femme fatale harboring evil intentions? But seeing a young girl struggling and crying in his hands, Pei Yuchen, as a man, still felt a little soft-hearted. This cold food powder is always poison. She also knows it's poison, why would she hurt grandma who is sick in bed? It's impossible for me to let her go. Aware that his rebuttal was too fierce, Wei tried to control his emotions. She looked into Pei Yuchen's eyes and spoke to him, "Assistant Pei, Grandma and I didn't even have a good conversation before we understood each other's identities. You have been with Grandma for many years. Don't you know how painful it was when Grandma died?" Recalling Mrs. Jiao's appearance, which was so emaciated by illness before her death, the anger and hatred in Pei Yuchen's heart were instantly aroused. "Miss, you are right, everything is at your discretion." After saying that, Wei insisted on opening Lemur's mouth and forcefully drank the potion. "Let her go." With the only command in the night, Pei Yuchen let go of Lemur. Lemur immediately rushed into the toilet and wanted to spit out the medicine he drank. Wei could only stand there calmly and look at Lemur's embarrassed look, as if he was confident. "I really want to take a picture of you now and show it to others, but I don't know if you, Miss Yejia, can still do it?" Wei was the one who made trouble for Lemur. When Lemur heard what she said, he was afraid that he would be photographed looking like this, so he rushed towards her. Wei held the toilet door with one hand, and the two of them pushed in opposite directions. Wei deliberately left a little force, and opened the door a small distance, but Lemur couldn't get out. Lemur yelled unwillingly, "Wei, you are the worst person. They have all been deceived by you. You are more vicious than me. I will not offend others unless they offend me. If someone offends me, I will repay you twice as much. Don't you understand this principle of life? The only person who hides a knife in his smile at night is a needle hidden in his cotton." This look reminded Lemur of the first time she had a face-to-face confrontation with Wei a few years ago. Not only was she slapped, she was almost deceived and her face was disfigured. Lemur slapped the door unwillingly. From the moment she entered Ye's house, she felt deeply jealous of Wei. Yezikin's loving care, and my friend's dedicated protection. Obviously she was a stupid and ugly little girl who only knew how to cry at that time, but she was so lucky to get everything. What Lee Moore wants to take away is not Ye Weiwei's identity, but the feelings Ye Weiwei gets. Lee Moore gave up pushing the door and took out her cell phone to call Yezikin. End of this chapter.